Hey, welcome back to Bible and Blues. We are actually showing a podcast that I do with my friends, and this is on Dar's channel. It's called Hanging with My Peeps. We talk about our faith. We talk about different things going on in the world. Sometimes we even stay on subject for a little bit, but they're a fun time. Check it out. Have fun. Thanks. Bye.
Pre-rapture.
Pre-rapture.
All right. Who's gonna,
All right,
here
we
bring it
go.
in, Dar.
Okay, here we go. All right. Hey, welcome to another episode of Peeps. And we have Miss Wolf, we have Trust, and we have Liv. And again, I'm Dars. And so, this week's question is, how should Christians respond when their faith does not align with the values of their country? Ooh. Wow.
You know, so speaking of somebody who lives in the
That's
Christian
quite a
nation,
choice of word, the values.
Right.
you know,
Are they really values? Even
So-
to say that they're values, that's in question.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
I guess we'll have
well-
to. I guess we'll have to kind of change that one with, Well, actually, like a lot of the values in our country are like kind of like off, are not Christian values. I mean, it's a lot of the stuff that's being celebrated isn't. So we can also. I guess we can go with that part because it is kind of. I mean, it could
Or the laws
have
of
so
the
many
country,
different
or-
things. Yeah, I mean,
well, yeah, there's a lot of directions we could go.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
You know, one of the things that, I was thinking about was in terms of, early Christians lived in countries where, and we have places today where people live in countries that, I mean, you're actually restricted because you're a Christian.
mm-hmm.
So if you're in a country that is Muslim dominated and working under Sharia law, as a Christian, you'll actually pay extra taxes and things like that for being for not being Muslim.
Yeah.
In order to be
That's
able
what they
to live
do
there.
in the Muslim.
Ooh,
Yeah,
that I
so
did not
they'll
know.
do it under Sharia law.
Wow.
It's not that you can't live there and practice.
But they put restrictions on you, and
They'll put restrictions on you. Yeah, you'll life will be a little bit tougher. Not as tough as, say, when they were putting Christians into the Colosseum to be fed to the lions.
Right. Yeah.
Not that tough.
Mhm.
Well,
But
there are some countries where it's forbidden.
Yeah.
Period.
yeah, there are some
Yeah.
where it's strict, where it's completely forbidden. There's not very many of those around, but they are there, and so that should be considered too. So we live in a country where we have complete freedom to worship our God and love Jesus and not feel excuse me and not feel actually restricted and directly by the government.
Yeah.
Okay,
Not-
so we
not
have,
yet.
We have that freedom.
Not yet.
Well, yeah,
'Cause that's-
we have the Constitution, which
That's
keeps that,
going.
which protects it.
Mhm.
And they
You know,
keep
not-
trying.
you know,
They keep trying.
Yeah,
to
that's
rewrite it.
that's what I.
Oh,
Yeah,
they
I'm.
want to. They don't like it. They don't like it because they want us to think of the government as God.
Big Papa. Yeah.
Yeah, they do. They
Because
really
I think
do.
on like some like sites and stuff like that, it's kind of like doing that where it's like censorship and stuff like that where
Mhm.
you can, and it's like I look on some what do you call them, search engines or whatever, and be looking stuff up, and now what I see a lot now is misinformation and disinformation or conspiracy theory,
You-
and that's
you know
showing
what-
up a lot in just like the news feeds, and it depends on what side it is, but it's
So
like
I took our question and I plugged it into Google, and in the first 2 pages, all I found were stories about Christian nationalism
I bet.
and how it's bad, and how it's and problems with Christian nationalism.
Yeah, yep,
Okay,
that's the new
that's
word.
what Google gave me. So if you use one of the alternative search engines, I plugged it into Brave.
I have that.
Okay, and like Brave, hate Brave, doesn't matter to me.
I have that one.
And I came up with all of these stories that were directly related to our question, from Christian news places and things that were blogs from pastors and things like that, just talking about the actual question. So when you talk about plugging something in, it's like you put it into Google and all you hear about is Christian nationalism and how it's a horrible thing, right? and then you put it into something else, and you get your actual question. I was like, that's really wild that's what the search, the algorithm
Yeah,
is
it's
trying to show.
crazy.
But when you put it in the search, did you specifically mention Christianity or the question
I
of
said Christians.
the
I
topic?
just
Okay.
yeah, it's almost word for word the topic.
Mm.
And how should Christians act in I can't remember exactly what my wording was, but yes, how should Christians act, in a world where the government does, in a world that doesn't align with Christian values.
Mm.
And it came up with all these things about Christian nationalism
Mm.
and negative aspects of
Yeah,
what
yeah,
Christian
yeah.
nationalism could be viewed as.
Yeah.
And so to me, that was like, that's not even the question I was asking. I wasn't even bringing up Christian nationalism.
Mm. Yeah,
I'm talking about
it's kind of a
values.
code word, just
You know?
like
Yeah.
it's that word. It's like the same
Well,
thing
it's
as like MAGA. Like that was something that, and I remember when it came out
Yeah.
of his mouth, they say MAGA, and then everything is MAGA, and it's like, oh, it's like bad.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well,
Yeah,
now
And-
red hats
they
are the
connect it with
KKK,
Yeah, and now it's
white
Christian
supremacy.
nationalists. Yeah,
Yeah,
now
that's
it's
what they-
nationalists.
yeah,
and it's
yeah,
like,
they're
yeah.
coming.
come on.
So we find those things.
Mm.
My TV in the background is loud. Can you hear it at all?
Nope.
No.
I don't hear
Okay.
it.
So the
Mm-mm.
the Quest microphone is doing its job. It does a pretty good job of that. So but what I did find, however, that I did kind of want to bring up was, there's a lot spoken of in the Bible about how we should perceive the authorities as put above us. Okay, things like understanding that ultimately authority, all ultimate authority comes from God.
Right.
People in authority are doing so at the behest of God, even if they are doing things that are not aligned with God.
Right.
Which is kind of tough. I mean, if you think about it, this is really
Yeah.
tough because we whether you're whichever side of unfortunately we're in a complete dichotomy of for our politics in the U.S. You're either on this side or you're on this side, right?
Mhm.
Okay, you can't be in the center. Okay, but
Mhm.
so.
But then again, if you are truly a believer and following Christ, it's going to be a division. I mean, you just can't
It's gonna
get
be
Yeah.
away from it.
We're
Because
we are going
when
through.
there's the worldly way
Mhm.
and there's the godly way.
Godly way,
You know,
exactly.
they-
Yeah.
So, but
it's
but
not going to be an agreement.
You're
It's
absolutely
going to
right.
be separation.
But
Yeah, 'cause we,
and the concept being is that things that what should we do with a leader that is trouncing on our Christian values.
Mhm.
Okay, one that is getting take late term abortion. Okay,
Mhm.
all the way out to the 9th month. And
Mhm.
if you say it doesn't happen,
Oh,
you
it does.
got your head in the sand and you're not paying attention. But there are those who are who say, well, this doesn't go against Christian values because it's not a child until it takes its first breath.
Yeah. Mhm.
They'll try to argue that,
Yeah.
things like
Yeah.
that. But for those of us in this room, and I think most of our people that would be watching this would probably think, no, that's not right. And
Yeah.
but how do we react as Christians? How should we react to that? Is
Well,
really
Can
kind of-
I.
Can I,
Yeah.
can
Oh,
I-
go ahead, Miss Wolf.
my thing is, I'm pro-life. I believe in freedom of choice, and I believe that if you choose that choice, that you should pay for that choice, not my tax dollars,
Mhm.
because that's your choice. I wasn't there when you decided to do the deed, and that's the consequences of the action. And that's your choice. I believe in freedom of choice, but I don't believe in birth control because you want to go out here and sleep around, and the consequences of the science and the math. You play with fire, you eventually get burned.
Mhm.
You do that, this is the result of it. Now, because for me, I see it as it's nothing new. because it's a sacrifice to bow. You want to put this child on the altar so you can
Mm-hmm.
live this life. You don't want the responsibility. It's a hindrance. So for you put this child on the sacrificial altar so that your life can be better. Your life
Yeah,
can you can
yeah.
fulfill your goals and dreams. But the thing of it is that that's a choice that you're making. That nobody else should have to pay for your choice. I believe that.
Yeah. There's different like scenarios for that, which is kind of funny that we're even talking about because that's what message I'm working on now. But I discussed my situation before where
Mm,
I actually had one, and it wasn't that I was like, something just bad happened, and I didn't know, you know, not to,
mm.
you know what I mean? I was like scared, but I know what you're talking about is ones that are just using it as like a birth control method. That's and
Well,
that kind of thing, um, but
I
now,
think society's been lied to about it.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm. Yeah.
yeah, oh,
To
definitely.
where you didn't think that was a problem.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I
And
didn't know. I mean, we're talking eons ago,
yeah,
but
you
still,
weren't
I
thinking in
mean,
terms of what God would think.
yeah,
Yeah,
I just knew that, I
and,
was
and, and, and
violated,
from
and
personal
so I didn't know what
experience,
else.
Yeah. And
if
when
from
I think of the
personal
title of
experience,
the title of this
Mm,
that we have for this, and we
mm,
use the word values, it seems like
mm.
the world has their own idea what values are because they'll put that in the
Y-
category of healthcare.
you're right. Yeah,
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 You see.
yeah,
yeah, and to me,
Yeah.
just because not turning this into a discussion about abortion, it's because
yeah. Because yeah,
Yeah.
that's a very
But
complex
that's one of those things
situation,
that
mhm,
separate
and
where
it
the law
is,
says
and
this
I mean,
thing
and what Miss Wolf was
and the
saying
Bible
is
says another,
yeah, Miss
mhm,
Wolf saying that this is
Yeah.
and if you're doing it for your convenience,
yeah. That
Yeah.
is,
It's
if you're
which is
doing it
mostly
just
because
like she said, it's another
what's
form of
being
birth
done.
control.
Yeah, that's
right,
what's
Mhm.
mostly being done.
and then what you did was you were violated.
Mm,
This was not
Hmm.
something produced out of love. You were scared, young, and in extreme fear. And
yeah,
I
yeah. It's
there's a lot of women I know and love who have had abortions,
mhm,
and I don't look
Mhm.
down upon them for it.
No, I
And
don't
I
never
think
look
that's
down on them.
there's a human element. You need to know the subject and know why. I know how I feel about it. Now, as far as the government is concerned, there's a values section. That we could get off of this subject and we can move on to foreign affairs
mm,
and talk about sending our money over to another country for them to fight their war.
mhm,
Okay, I don't agree with that either. I mean, and you know, all we're really doing, to be bluntly honest, is we're prolonging a war that should have ended a while ago.
mm,
And um, by sitting there feeding them all this money, and but we like to we're an interventionist country is what we do.
yeah, yeah. Until
Um,
it comes to
We've
its
always
own,
been a
but
busy old
we
woman
ain't going to
here
get into that one.
in this country.
yeah,
I always call this country the busy old lady.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah,
yeah,
right.
yeah,
don't want to get
Exactly.
in it. Don't want
yeah,
to get in it. But
Mm,
we'll help our
just,
allies, which is
yeah,
you help your allies. But when you just go and you do you just meddling in other folks' affairs all the
hmm
time,
mm-hmm.
that gets old.
yeah.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
that's what we do is and
Mm,
then but then we have Hurricane Helene that
Uh-oh.
just happened. It was
yep.
and
You
that's
okay?
that
Ugh.
and okay.
Uh-oh.
Oh, oh,
Uh-oh.
Oh,
we lost we lost him.
no,
He's out
must be
flying
he
around
might have had the
someplace.
phone. Okay.
No, it's
There he
I
is.
just I just dropped my thing.
Oh, okay. I heard something.
Oh,
Well, don't drop your thing, man.
yeah.
Get it.
Keep up with your things.
And
Keep your things.
my battery, I got to
Keep
plug my
hold.
thing in because my battery is low.
Uh,
Oh. So then, but then we have that hurricane, and you're hearing reports about like that FEMA doesn't they had to get more money to them. So because they were running out of FEMA was running out of money for this,
yeah.
and
I heard.
there's
Yeah.
all kinds,
That's a whole big
and they're
mess in
turning,
itself.
yeah, there's a huge mess,
That's
and then
yeah.
that was
Because now there is
horrible
no money
hurricane.
for
That
the people
really
that need the help, and it's a whole
exactly,
big mess. It's just it's crazy, but that's
yeah. And for our
It's a whole big mess.
values, for our values, I mean, we're supposed to help, and that's it, right? We're supposed to help them. How do you help people from over there? They, we're looking at things in drones, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So I have a drone, and I love flying my drone. But if there was an opportunity that I could use mine to help find people,
Yeah.
after disaster, I want to be able to do that, right?
Yeah. Not being told you
They
can't
were
help
stopping
and
people
stuff.
from
They were stopping.
people
Yeah.
from doing that.
Yeah.
And instead of working with this asset that's there,
Right.
they're like, no, we only want to do
Everyone
our
working
own.
together. Everyone working
Yeah,
together rather
instead of
than
that.
rather than like just
We've gotten
separating.
to the point to where it used to be, you know, this country's foundings. You know, people want to say this was a Christian country. This is not a
We're not a
theocracy.
theocracy. No, we're not.
But we were founded on the Christian values, and it used to be a time to where you could help people in need. Now just you pretty much need permit to
Yeah.
help the homeless.
Mhm.
When if you got it, you should be able to give it. That's what there's what this country was. And over the past 20 to 25 years, all that has just been flushed down the toilet to where you have to have permission to breathe.
Yeah, because it's the greed on the
Because
other on the
even in the
side
state
is
that I
like,
live in, is my audio working? Hello, hello.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Even in the state I live in, there are laws that you cannot like give things publicly to the homeless
yeah,
Yeah.
or
right,
those who are like begging.
yeah,
You'll be fined for it if they catch you.
yeah. I remember that story.
Yeah.
I don't know if
Yeah.
I don't know if it was in our state, but yeah, she was trying to
Yeah,
and they were like
in
wanting to
New
arrest her
Jersey.
and stuff. She was in a
I don't
park,
know. I don't know if it's all over New Jersey, but
probably.
where I'm living,
Yeah,
if they catch
probably.
you, if someone's out there begging,
Mhm.
and you give them something,
Yeah, yeah. It's
they'll
crazy.
fine you.
It's absolutely crazy
Mhm.
because because it's like, and I think the reason why is because no one gets paid from that. You know what I mean? They want to have their hands in it, so they get paid from that. But anyway, that's
So
a
even
whole
in that
nother
case,
thing.
you
I
have
ain't
to
gonna
make a
get too
decision whether you're going to obey the law
But the
or
thing
just
of it,
the
the
land,
thing of it is,
yeah,
or you're going to help a person.
it goes with the topic. When the values, God's values,
yeah,
and the
eh,
world, the government, wherever you are, is either God or man,
mhm,
and we should fear God rather than man. So
Mm-hmm.
if at the cost, because people are asking us to accept and tolerate so many things.
Mhm.
you know you have to play the alphabet game, people you don't
Well,
know,
well,
guess identities, and then you have to
we
play, you have to go, a lot of, I watch, street preachers get beat up,
Yeah.
arrested,
mhm,
you know I've watched, and it's just a thing that we're doing what's required of us to
yeah.
show the love of God to a lost and dying world. And people are like, well, why are you forcing your religion on? We're not forcing anything. I'm saying I would like to introduce you to my Lord and Savior. You can accept him or reject him.
mhm,
That is your free will.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I'm just doing it, just doing the introduction.
mhm,
And the thing of it is that the way the governments, are infringing is, because we live in a very offended society. I'm sorry, I'm here to offend. I am
Mm-hmm.
going
yeah, this
to
is true.
offend. I am not politically correct. I will offend. I'm sorry if you feel the
No,
need
ma'am.
that you need a safe space and a corner to hide in. Okay, this world is not for you. Period.
Yeah.
Because life is full of ups, downs, ins, outs, and you're gonna get offended, and I have my own opinions. You have yours.
Mhm.
We agree to disagree on things, but we're
And that's
not
how,
gonna
yeah, and that's how it used to be. You could agree to
hold
disagree,
conversations.
where'd you go? Oh, there you is. Um, and
So
and everything was good. You know what I mean? You could do that, but now
so let me ask you this. I mean, biblically though,
Mm,
um, we have things like Romans 13, 1 and 2. Let everyone be subjected to the governing authorities, for there is no authority except that which God has established. The authorities that exist have been established by God. Consequently, whoever rebels against the authority
whoa!
is rebelling against what
Now
God
I
has
did it.
instituted. Now you're doing it. Get back to your seat, woman.
Goodness.
And those who do so will bring judgment on themselves. So, what does that mean in light of what we're talking about here?
It
It
goes
says
back,
I
straight up,
I
but
think
then you go
there
back
is
to
no
it goes
authority
to
except
Acts.
God has established.
yeah. Well, I think
Yeah,
God establishes,
but then
like,
you
I
go
think,
to
authority
Acts,
for different, like, for
and then it goes into what Peter said in Acts 5:29. We are to obey God rather than
Mm-hmm.
men.
Mhm.
See, the thing is, it's a balance there. Yes, God created authorities, but when those authorities start contradicting God,
Yeah.
we have to make a choice.
Because I think it's for
Do we follow
And,
Christ,
it.
or do we submit and surrender to men to be
Yeah.
pleasers of men, to fit in with
mm.
men, or
Now,
do we?
see, I would
I,
use an example here because remember that Jesus submitted himself to the authority of Pontius Pilate,
Mm-hmm.
mm,
and as such, he was crucified. And he didn't want to be crucified. He said the night before, Lord,
Mm-hmm.
if it is your
Anyway, you
will,
just
yeah,
pass this
pass
cup
this cup.
from me. But if
mm-hmm.
it is your will that it happen, I will. So, but he still submitted to the authority. That was the path that he was on, was submitting to the authority of
Mhm.
Pontius Pilate.
Yeah.
But, one thing,
Was
also
was
Peter,
Jesus really submitting to Pilate or
well, he
to
was
the word
submitting
of
to his,
God?
he was submitting to the will of God because he knew what was coming. He knew
Yeah,
from
yeah,
the
yeah, yeah.
time,
Because of the prophecies, you
the,
could see
yeah,
that that's what
he
God had
knew
planned all
what was
along.
going to happen.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
but
But he
it's
obeyed.
just,
He
it's,
I
said,
think
they when they tried to trip him up, and with
mm,
the tax, and he
Yeah,
said,
with the
whose
coin, with the
insignia is on
mhm,
this?
yeah.
mhm.
Give to Caesar what is Caesar's,
what is
and
Caesar's?
give
And
to
Mhm.
to
That's right.
God
God with God.
what
What
belongs
is
to
God?
God. And see,
Yeah.
that's where that line goes. We are to respect and honor those in authority because God created
Yeah.
those authorities
Mhm.
That's
for a
right.
purpose. Now, when those authorities are going against the rule of God,
Yeah.
we have to choose: do I obey God, or
Mhm.
do I submit
To
to the
Caesar.
rule of man
Because
Mm-hmm.
what was that
Yeah.
scripture where Jesus said, "You don't have any power over me"?
over me?
Yeah.
Hold on, I get that.
Mhm. But
Well, I
okay, while
mean,
she's looking
all
that up,
authority
but that's what I
in
was
heaven
gonna
and
say.
on earth has been given to
Given to
me.
me. Yeah.
Hmm.
In Matthew, yeah, I'm using a browser in my headset, so I'm
Oh.
Yeah, me
I'm
too.
pulling things up here. But
Oh, I keep forgetting about that. But
yeah,
that's what I was gonna say too. Is like, um, we still, have
John
like
19:11.
John
Yeah.
19:11. Okay. Yeah,
Hmm.
we still are to like obey
But in a way,
the
Jesus did
authorities, but
humble
once
himself
it goes off the
in a
rails,
way.
I think, um, then no. Like if they say, okay, well, I want everyone to go out and just gather
hmm
up people and do whatever. You know what I mean? Yeah, that is not something
yeah,
to obey, even though it's our
Because he said, we will be
you know
persecuted
yeah,
Mhm.
for following him, for
yeah,
being obedient. We
yes,
will be
yes,
yeah.
persecuted. We,
yeah,
everything Jesus is our example.
hmm
Yes, he followed the law of the land. He followed even the traditions, the law of the Jewish
Yeah.
traditions. He
Mm.
followed all of that to a law. He
Yeah.
lived a perfect life. The thing
Even
of it
more than
is
those
Yeah.
who claim to be
right,
obeyed, like the high
and
priest and the high
and he lived
priest, even more so.
right.
Yeah.
But he
Hmm.
obeyed. He he
Yeah.
he 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 walked that thin line because
Yeah.
whenever they tried to come to him, he reminded there is a thin line.
hmm
Mm.
and you have to, and we constantly make that choice when we decide to follow Christ. Do we continue to do the things that the world do and live like the world, or
Right.
is there
Yeah.
change in our lives because we surrender to God's authority?
Yeah, I
And the thing
think
of it is, as
I
Christians, as Christians, we have to, by staying in God's word, we learn how to balance on that thin line, because it's easy to step over here,
Mm,
because it sounds, some of the things that the world has, the
mm,
rules and stuff, they sound okay,
Mhm.
but when you look at them, compare them to what God says,
mm,
you know you see where it's a trap.
Yeah.
yeah.
yeah. Now I see like when they say, okay, well, God puts, raises kings for, and some could be times it could be for judgment, which I think is now. Um, but I think the reason, and it's just like how how I'm like seeing it is like as we're talking is like I think it's so that for His glory, so that His people can come out and do, uh, bring forth His will. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? So that we're not
Mhm.
going like totally with the like saying, "Oh yeah, this is what we're gonna do," and the government's doing this, and it's like, okay, that's right. Like giving into like all of that. You know what I mean?
Well,
Like,
and we're unique here in this country,
mm,
and really the Western world in general, in that we have a say over our own ruling.
Hmm.
Okay,
yeah,
we vote, we send
hmm,
representatives, and if those
Well, at least it's
representatives are
on
not
paper.
doing
yeah,
what, yeah,
yeah,
well,
and it's not always gonna be, yeah,
it's
at least on
there.
paper, right?
It's not always, it doesn't always end up the way we want it
Yeah,
to.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, these ain't perfect
but
people.
Yeah.
yeah,
So,
but we can
and I mean,
still,
yeah, I mean, politicians are like diapers;
yeah,
they need to be changed often, and for very much the same reason.
That's why we're to pray for them.
yeah,
Yeah. So, but that is what we should be doing um, is praying for them, because they do have a very heavy responsibility. If they take the responsibility properly, they need our prayers. Um, but I mean, and I'm kind of going through all of these different things. Um, and things like remind them to be submissive to rulers and authorities, to be
Yeah.
obedient, to be ready for every good work. We need to be ready to do our good work, and we need to be, and we do have authorities over us, okay, and we need to remember, if the police come, we have to follow their lawful orders, right?
Yeah.
mm,
Mhm.
mm,
Yeah.
Even if we don't necessarily agree with them.
yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I would say just
Again,
do
and I
what you
do
got
say
to
we
But
do,
have to
hopefully
and
they
follow.
don't
and
go
the
against what God says.
yeah.
Right,
Mhm.
Because
and
we know there are
well,
laws. For
But
the
you
most
know,
part,
cops today,
they're for
yeah,
the good of
yeah,
society. So
yeah,
that there
right.
won't
They're
be a,
not going
you
to
know,
tell they're not going to walk
yeah,
up to you and tell you that, and well, today they won't, and tell you that you need to shoot somebody. The
yeah,
cops aren't going to do that.
mm,
Um, they're not going to tell you that you have to go against your beliefs.
mhm.
Even if it's like, well, could you stop doing that? It's bugging your neighbors. Well, sorry, my neighbors are just going to have to get bugged. Okay,
mm.
we're
No,
going
yeah,
to have our church. We're going to have we're going to have our Bible study on this night, and our neighbors don't like it because the cars are all out front, and we're
Mm,
going to do our Bible study anyway, because
mm,
it's perfectly legal and lawful for us to do so. In other countries, it isn't, and we should be
Right.
grateful for that.
right,
Right.
yeah,
But you know, but we have many things. I mean, there's lots of different verses in here that say we do need to submit to their authority.
Mhm.
until it goes
Okay.
off the
yeah,
like majorly
yeah,
off the
Well,
rails.
and and
That's how I mean. I
there's
totally if there's if
it's
there
very difficult to say this, because we it actually doesn't say that in the Bible. It actually
I know.
says we need to submit, and we want to be able to rebel.
Hmm.
It actually says straight up, if you rebel,
There's
you know,
consequences.
Okay, all right.
you're
So
yeah.
okay, so
Therefore,
oh
whoever
goodness,
resists the authorities resists what God has appointed,
yeah.
and those who
I'm not
resist
saying
will incur judgments.
yeah. I'm not
It's
saying
saying it
like
right there.
go out into the street and just like rebel like that. I'm just saying okay,
because
okay
like
about the COVID thing
there are
when they
laws,
said
there are
that
written laws,
Mhm.
of the,
Okay, what
that,
about?
because with lawyers,
yeah.
when you have lawyers and judges, they base
Mm-hmm.
their judgment based upon those written laws. You know,
Mm-hmm.
even in the world, they
Yes.
have like written
Yeah.
laws what you should do, and they
Yeah.
also they have sentences
Mhm. And when it comes to things
depending
like
what type
COVID,
of laws you break.
Yeah.
Like if you
What about
commit
the
a
churches? Like,
crime, it may be considered a misdemeanor. It
so
may be considered a felony. You know,
yeah.
yeah.
it may
You see, my
be
argument with
arson.
COVID would be how much of that was actually legal for them to do that so many places just rolled over for.
Yeah. Well, see this.
A lot
Well,
of
okay,
places
so
Was
rolled
it
this
over.
is
actually was
Yeah,
that
but
actually legal
some people did
actions?
not.
okay, so this is
Yeah.
what I'm
Churches
saying.
closed down. They didn't
When
close
when
down.
I say when I made that statement, I mean I
Mm.
understand what you're saying, but when I made a statement until it goes off the rails, I'm talking. I'm I'm talking about something like different. Like I said, so I bring up the COVID thing. And
Mm.
when the churches were told that they couldn't assemble, and some pastors
Yeah.
said, no, we can, and we're going to keep the churches open. But then, too,
Mhm.
bars were open, so that was fine.
Mm.
And some
Yeah.
restaurants, and that was fine.
And
Yeah.
And
liquor
marching
stores,
in the
everything was
They
streets
used to
were
make laws. They
fine.
told
You could buy
you cannot
marijuana.
assemble and
So
worship.
that's what I'm
But I
talking
can
about.
remember there was this
I'm not
guy
talking about,
who
causing
I know
destruction in
you're
the street.
talking about.
yeah
Yeah. Yeah, I'm
So
not talking
yeah
about causing
so
destruction and like,
so again, did they actually have authority to do that? It's kind of some of the because a lot of people were saying no, you actually
was it a
don't have
part of
the
the
authority to
written
do it.
laws of the land? No.
Is it part of the written law of the land, or were they doing things and we were just saying okay? And a good portion of the population was just saying okay because, like you said, some churches went ahead and
Was
stayed
it
open.
an emergency
Mhm.
precautionary measure, or were they just trying to control people? That comes
Yeah,
into
so
question too.
we can debate that whole subject as
yeah.
well. So
Yeah.
It's the, yeah,
and personally, I think it was a good dry run for them because a lot of people just rolled over.
hmm
Um, so they know
yeah.
that we'll just roll over. But we have to uh, ask certain questions about that. When they go off the rails, when I think about a government going off the rails, I'm thinking about martial law.
Oh yeah, that
I'm
I
thinking
wasn't
about
meaning that. Yeah,
when
that's
you know
really yeah.
the ones that bugged me were if you want to bring up the COVID thing, the ones that bugged me were like when somebody was out in the middle of the lake in his rowboat
Yeah,
fishing, nobody around him,
and they
and
got
they had
I
him.
saw that one.
They had to charge him with something,
hmm
And
Yeah,
it's like
yeah. The guy,
why?
yeah,
Yeah,
the
they
guy
had
was
to.
like on a
Well, you can't be
surfboard,
out
and
here
they like
They gave a
arrested
You can't
him.
be out
lady
here
was
fishing.
walking her dog,
Yeah,
Yeah,
walking her
yeah, that
dog
kind of stuff.
in her own yard, and got a
hmm
ticket.
Yeah,
hmm
and
yeah,
nobody's like,
yeah,
but
And
that was during the COVID.
Yeah,
yeah, that was
yeah.
like
During
right in the
COVID, yeah.
beginning.
It's,
Yeah.
nobody
Oh,
around.
I
She's
mean,
on her own property at her
yeah,
house in her yard.
yeah,
Left
and
and
her
it was
dog
things
out.
like
they
that.
ticketed
Yeah.
her. Yeah, I would
Yeah,
fight that without a doubt. But I think my favorite one was the prank ones where this one guy puts up a mannequin on the beach with a fishing pole, like he was like there was
Oh,
somebody
really?
fishing, and somebody
Uh,
called the cops. Cops come out to talk to the guy fishing, and it's a
uh,
mannequin. It's not even a person. So
that's
I thought that was
crazy.
hilarious.
That was
That was a great one.
wow,
Yeah,
wow.
do you feel kind of dumb? You should. You kind of look kind of dumb, but
Yeah. So
that's that
so
was
stuff
kind of
like that. That's
yes.
what I'm talking about. Like,
Mhm.
although I'm babbling now, I just can't get my thoughts together tonight.
Well,
But
I just have to ask.
Mhm.
From my perspective during that whole thing, was my question that I asked was, is this even really legal for them to do? Because there were so many things that they did, and they just claimed it was going to help. But then now we find out later on that so much of it was
Mhm.
made up. The
Yeah.
6 foot rule.
hmm
Remember the six?
Yeah,
6
Yeah.
feet.
yeah.
Well, it was made up.
Yeah.
We all know that now,
hmm
but
Catch
it
the
was
flu
made
at
up.
6 feet.
Because
Yeah.
6 feet.
Right.
I mean, a virus isn't limited to 6 feet.
It is
Yeah. Exactly.
not at all.
It
Not in
does.
the least little
It
bit.
doesn't know. Yeah. It does
I
not.
know.
It does not know.
And how much of it was they were telling us to do something so that we would feel like we were doing something.
Yeah,
I think a lot of
and
it.
I know
I
a lot of
think a
people may
lot
not
of
want to hear
it
this one
was.
either. It's about the mass.
I think. Yeah.
Yeah,
Those little
I think.
cloth masks are not going to stop
Yeah.
a
I
little
think a lot of it
virus.
was, to see who would do what. To see who
they
is going
control.
to listen.
Yeah,
I don't
and
want to
that's
get
and
into the
that's
whole like thing because I could go
Because
very
yeah.
deep
at
on
first you
that,
would
but
hear, what was it, Dr.
that's how I
Fauci was
think
his
about
name? How do you pronounce his
Fauci,
name first?
Fauci,
it.
ouchie.
It's a
Fauci.
Fauci ouchie.
I
At
just,
one
I
time
just
he was
looked at
saying, don't wear the mask.
Yeah. I looked
then
at
he
it
was
as a
saying
dry
red 2 or
run.
3 of them.
That's how I looked at it, as a
Yeah.
dry run.
You
Well,
see?
I look at the funny thing about things that I've seen happen in my lovely country. I remember during the Iraq War, okay,
Mm.
and
Mm-hmm.
red light. We were playing red light, green light,
I remember
yellow
that.
light.
I
You
remember
know,
Mm-hmm.
danger, caution. We're gonna get attacked. Danger, caution. I'm like, are
Yeah.
we playing red light, stoplight here?
that. Mm.
Yeah, that's exactly what we were
Because
doing.
you're like, okay, how are we supposed to feel? Okay, is it this? Is it that? Or is
Yeah.
it safe? Or is it what? What? I'm like, we're going red light, yellow light, green light.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah. But when you look
and
at
people,
it, though,
and people, and then, see, I'm looking at, and then you're looking at the people around you, and because it's not much that really panics me,
Mm.
and I'm sitting here
Mhm.
looking at everybody, freaking out over that, and then we go into COVID, and well, before COVID, we had
there was other
Ebola.
ones, though. There was
We had
other ones that
Ebola.
nothing happened.
Yeah,
It didn't.
we had
Like,
the Ebola scare, we had the bird flu, we had all these other things that's come through. And
yeah.
like I said, and we every 100 years there's something. There's always a breakout of something every 100 years. Guarantee you go back through history, every 100 years we had something.
Yeah, but there
come
was.
through.
I mean, there was something. I don't know. When I was a kid, I don't remember what it was, but I know that because there's like
It
been
was
so many, but it's never.
polio and
Yeah,
all
there's
those type
never
of things.
been this kind of reaction toward stuff that happened then. I don't remember
Yeah,
all
where
of them because I
everything
was a
is like
kid,
shut down. Businesses are shut
yeah,
down.
my parents
You know,
Mhm.
didn't like say, "Oh, we can't go to work because of this and that," and then masks were worn.
exactly.
You
Oh,
know what I mean?
I remember
So,
my grandmother had polio, and they had camps. My grandmother was in one of those camps.
wow.
So you look
Mhm.
at
But it was sort of like what you call it, Raw. It was like what's the word they use for it? Um, when they separate people and just put them in a particular place, but they don't shut down the whole society. They put them in they sort of like
Oh,
isolate.
quarantine.
Yeah.
Quarantine.
Yeah, quarantine. Exactly.
Mhm.
That's what they did. That's what they do. It's not like they
Mhm.
close down all society and say everybody has to stay inside. You can't go nowhere. You can't do nothing. You can't
Mhm.
socialize. You can't go to work.
Yeah.
Shut
But
down all the factories.
that's the thing though. Those things like that can always run off the rails.
Mhm.
Yeah,
It
think
could be
about
for
it. I mean,
one
you go
thing,
back to
and then
medieval, you
it's
go
like
back in history,
then it ends up being
because
something else.
I look at things, and then you look back in history, it used to be a time, back in the medieval times, what they call the dark times, they would take, if one person in a family gets sick, they lock the whole family in the house and burn it down.
Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh
yeah,
man.
yeah. That's that was the plague. That was the days of the plague.
Yeah.
When a person when one person gets sick, and you can wipe out an entire town.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Because they didn't understand disease at all.
Right.
Mhm.
But
And
one
we've
thing
come
we
a
have to
long
remember.
way.
Now, when
We've
one
come a
kid
long
gets
way.
cold,
But the
gets
thing
sick,
of
you
it,
let them all get sick, like the chicken pox.
That's right.
Everybody get in the room.
We
Y'all all
inoculate
get
'em.
chicken pox, so we can just like
know,
get this over with.
our
But now we
bodies
find out that
are,
we
the human
get,
body is an amazing thing. God created an awesome,
Yeah.
awesome piece of machinery here.
hmm
Yep.
And the thing about it, our body learns things.
Yeah.
Exactly, and I know
Yeah,
that
it
by experience.
has
'Cause
to.
I didn't
does.
never get no vaccines or anything like that.
Yeah, I mean, you have to
one,
let
one of the things we have to
your body
we
like.
have kind of coming back to here is
I got it.
when the government laws are conflicting with God's commandments, we submit to God's word above that, in that conflict. So, during that time, there was a whole. I mean, we got all up in arms. But we have to, but I would say that we should ask: is it, aside from, of course, church services,
Mhm.
but does it? What part of what they were doing was actually against God's word?
That was
Yes.
Well,
except
they
for
weren't.
the
They
churches.
weren't.
Except for the
Yeah,
churches,
they weren't doing anything
because
that
where I
was
had a
against.
problem, taking
Right.
away people's right, right to worship, but yet the clubs was popping,
Yeah,
everything
Yeah,
else
and
was
and,
going
and,
on,
and I'm and like I said,
and
I'm saying except
I,
for that, that was the
they
one
weren't doing
place
anything.
I think.
Yeah, I don't
Yeah, that
think
was
they
the
were
one
doing
place
anything
I
that
think,
was
I
but
against
think
God.
I think
everything
we should
else,
have,
everything else,
that could have called.
you know, uh, 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 you know,
it really wasn't going against God's word, is what I'm saying.
No.
No.
God's word
Aside
said
from-
don't neglect
You know,
assembling together.
Aside from
like,
public worship,
yeah,
which we're called to public worship.
yeah, they weren't.
Yeah.
Yeah, they weren't doing anything that was like against God's.
They really, yeah, and I think that's something we have to remember during this. Because hey, I was just as up in arms as everybody else. Trust me, I mean, I was definitely, and I would probably do the same thing again if they told me I couldn't do this or couldn't do that. Because hey, I'm an American, I can do what I want. But
yeah, I just hated it here because it was really crazy here because
it was really
masks,
crazy.
gloves. You had to wear a mask. You had to wear gloves. I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, I'm going
it
into
was
surgery
crazy.
here just to walk out the door.
Hey, I did the toilet
Yeah,
paper thing, and I still have my toilet
really-
paper from then.
When really, when you come back down to it, all you really need to do is wash your hands a little more, just like you do,
Right?
And it was kind of funny because I called it a bad flu, and then my son kind of called me out on this, a couple of weeks ago because he just called it a bad flu, and then, I was like, well, yeah, it kind of was because people die from the flu every year.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
This was,
And that's why they have the
bad case of
vaccination
that.
for the flu in order to
Man,
try to prevent
when
people
COVID
from-
hit, you walk someplace and I have allergies, and I said because people were freaking out, and I hate.
You didn't want to
taking
cough
allergy
around them, yeah.
Oh, they'd be like, oh. I'm like,
Yeah,
allergies
I mean,
still exist. The common cold still exists.
Still exists,
Yeah,
yeah.
and nobody found a cure for that yet.
Yeah, okay. We
Ain't
still
that-
have these other
ain't that
things
the
to
thing?
deal with, folks. Calm down. Everything is not COVID.
Yeah, and the funny thing about it is, and I just want to kind of bring this out just a little bit because after that, and I think they got the taste of power off of that, right? Didn't they?
Oh
Mhm.
yeah.
They really,
Oh,
they
yeah.
did.
That's what I said. It was like a
And
trial
then-
run for something.
Yeah. So they kept on trying to bring it back.
Mm-hmm.
They kept on trying to talk about how it was, COVID's back and we have this number, they're trying to play that numbers game again, but we're, too many
We're
people
over
are
it.
burnt out for starters.
Yeah, it's
And
like-
too much-
we're over that one.
We're fed up.
we're over. it.
I'm telling you,
and
I'm telling you, I drive kids to school. I'm a bus driver.
Mhm.
Some of those parents are so glad to see us bus drivers come pick those kids up from school.
Yeah.
You wouldn't believe
Thank
it.
you.
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
sure they were. I'm
Get
sure
them
they were.
going.
Oh my goodness. I'm
Exactly.
sure.
It's give me a break.
Mm.
But the kids going to school. That was another thing that really bugged me.
Oh man, those poor.
was
They
that
still
my
haven't like.
son graduated high school during this, and his graduation ceremony was so horrible. Okay, I mean, it was he was so cheated out of a proper,
Yeah.
pomp and circumstance.
Yeah.
For graduating high school, a major event in his life.
Yep.
I mean, we could only have his mom and I,
Mm.
and two other people. That was it.
Oh no, really?
And we
They
had
just
to,
put everything-
and I could take pictures if I stood in this little square here,
Oh my word.
and they couldn't be right there. Okay, so then and it all had to happen outside. It was kind of like we drove up. We actually drove in. We parked. I got out to take pictures.
Hmm.
My son walked across an outdoor stage. Rang a bell.
So it was
got
like a
his
drive-through.
diploma. It was a drive-through
Oh my
ceremony.
goodness.
And then I got back. We got back in the car and left.
And left. Oh,
That
my
was
word.
the whole thing.
That's crazy.
His graduation party was we had pizza at the Mod Pizzeria. Okay, which I was glad they were
No
open to have
prom,
pizza.
nothing, none of that kind of stuff.
No
Oh, that's
party,
a shame.
none of that. And it was just, oh, you got to be kidding me. So that's that was something. But then after they kept on trying to bring it back, and then the most recent thing they've tried it twice now is monkeypox.
Mm-hmm.
You've heard of that one.
Have
Yeah,
you
they
seen
tried to
some of
bring
the memes
monkeypox
for the
twice.
monkeypox? That one guy was like,
Yes.
that monkeypox is so real.
loose.
He's like, I got to go into the hospital and get these tests done and stuff. And then he turned the camera around and it's like this meme, his face turns into a monkey. I was like, oh, man.
So,
Oh, my goodness.
and the funny thing is, here's the funny thing. Now, we're all of an age, so we all remember when the AIDS epidemic
Speak for
came up.
yourself. I'm 19. No, I'm just kidding.
You're 19 forever.
I'm only 16. I'm only
19
16.
forever over here.
Still have to have my mom's permission to be here.
I'm
That's
forever
right.
young.
That's right. We all remember, we
When
all
it
do
first
remember
came out, when it first
the AIDS
came out, and
came
there was a lot of panic over that.
right, and and it was predominantly gay men who were getting it.
Right.
Okay, and it was through their sexual choices of
Yeah.
of sodomy,
Mhm.
and it was all these horrible things. Now you can't say that today. You can't talk about
Yeah.
it like that today.
Yeah.
Even though monkeypox is the same kind of thing. It's among gay men. Okay, that's
Yeah.
and so. And it's a very small percentage of them. It's like the ones that are going, that are going into places like like the old San Francisco bathhouses, almost, and having these P Diddy freak offs. Okay,
That is some
if you're
crazy
doing a P.
stuff
Diddy
right
freak
there.
off,
Hey,
yeah,
That is
you
crazy.
might,
Oh my
you
goodness.
might, you might be at risk. But the funny
But
thing
other than
about it is
that, other than that,
you know-
people are
you know,
pretty
you,
pretty safe from
you
that.
ever watch the movie The Dallas Buyers Club?
yeah.
Yeah, Michael McConaughey.
No, I haven't seen it, but I
played
can
a
watch it
man.
tonight as long as it's free.
Yeah, he was.
Good.
Yeah, he was. He had AIDS, and he lost a bunch of weight in order to play this part. It was crazy.
Oh, I think I
And
heard about. I remember him doing that. I never saw it.
and the drugs for them to survive, to get to maintain some sort of healthy life, they
Oh,
couldn't get them. They had to go to Mexico. So this is the Dallas Buyers Club. They had to go to Mexico and smuggle the drugs back in
Yeah.
because they were.
I'm very
considered
close
illegal
to
here.
that subject.
Do you
Yeah.
know who was in charge of that whole thing in the government?
Not ouchie Fauci again.
It was Fauci.
Good
Do you know what
grief.
he was doing? He was saying, no, we don't need to do that. We need to make a vaccine for it.
Wasn't it AZT or something?
Sound familiar?
Yeah. Well, my brother, my older brother,
Yeah.
went through that in San Francisco. Yeah, in California.
Yeah.
Yep. And he just,
And
it was just awful.
yeah,
Yep.
it was just
Fauci and that
awful.
Microsoft guy, what's his name?
Gates.
Bill Gates.
Bill Gates.
Yeah. So
They're big on that
so-
vaccine thing.
So Fauci wanted a vaccine back then, and what did he want for COVID? A vaccine.
Vaccine.
Yep.
Yeah. Now he never got his vaccine with AIDS. He never with acquired immune deficiency.
Come to
syndrome.
think about it,
He
yeah,
never got it. He never. There's still not a vaccine to this day.
Exactly.
40
Wow,
years
never
later,
thought about
45
that.
years later,
Never thought about
there
that.
is
Wow.
still not one. But by golly, he got something for
Yeah.
COVID, didn't he? Whether it was any good or
Real
any
fast.
good or not, I don't know.
Man, almost
Yeah,
like
he
it was
got
ready.
Huh.
Hmm.
So
Anyway,
anyway,
you
so
go.
that was kind of where I wanted to go with that that idea. It's like, oh, who could I point to about? Oh, same person. Yeah.
Yeah.
And now we have monkeypox.
Yeah.
Huh.
I don't. But then too,
Look
I
at
heard
that.
with the monkeypox,
You
and I
know?
don't want to get it wrong, but I'll have to check it again. So don't totally do it. But it's something. If someone gets the vaccine for the monkeypox, you can't be around them. You still have to isolate, because if you come into contact with someone that has the vaccine, then something happens to you. I forgot what it is or whatever, but I was like, what? So you get the vaccine and you have to quarantine for, I don't know, a week or so, and no one can be around you while you're something. I'll have to look that up again, but yeah, it was some crazy stuff. I don't know. It was nuts.
Yeah.
It was nuts. It didn't make any sense to me. I think I
But
saved
you know
it.
what I see? You know what I
on my
see
YouTube.
is, with the the different throwing people in panic modes
Mhm.
to where it makes it to where when they do bring out the mark
Mhm.
and they realize who's
Oh, yeah.
going to panic and who's not.
Yeah,
You
that's
won't
what
be
I
able to buy
said.
and sell
It's the
unless
dry
you
run.
come on this.
That's what I mean by a dry run.
And people are going to go into survival mode. Well, I got to get this because I in order to survive, I got to
Yeah. That's
And
exactly
they will
what.
play
That's
on
exactly
certain
what it
people's
was.
fears.
Yeah, exactly.
They just
And when
want
I
to get
got-
as many people in that sort
Well,
of
how does
panic
Satan
and that
work?
fear
How does
and that
Satan work?
anxiety
He
mode
works-
as they can.
He works through fear.
Yeah. Yep. Like I went when I
Fear,
got
doubt,
when I did the whole toilet
uncertainty.
paper COVID thing. I wasn't doing it out of fear. First of all, I was home anyway, but I did it because it was and like I said, I only get out like once a week, so to go like food shopping. So I just did. I stocked up on it, but you saw people like getting really crazy. I mean, the stuff I was doing, I've been doing for years. So it was just another thing for me just to say, okay, let me
I just went and got what I
get
needed,
this here.
because the thing
You know,
everybody was talking about, you can't find this, you can't. Everything that the Lord provided,
it was
everything
there.
that I need.
Yeah.
Only thing I got upset about, too many people were drinking up my 7-Up. Okay, I mean my Sprite.
The thing
Oh,
they
I was
had
going to
me,
say
they had me
7 Up.
laughing is
Yeah,
that people was,
leave my Sprites.
they were buying
share the
toilet
Sprites.
paper like crazy.
Yeah, that was crazy time.
And my chocolate chip cereal.
Ah.
I was like, okay, y'all can't be messing with my chocolate chip cereal now.
Cookie
So many
Crisp?
people.
Cookie Crisp chocolate chip.
Yep.
There you go.
Can't be
There you
hogging
go.
that up now.
Yeah.
It
Don't
was
be messing with
amazing.
my
It was
chocolates.
amazing, and to this day, we're that whole thing was such a mess.
It was almost about to happen again with the strike.
And well, yeah, I mean, and today we're still dealing with the cost of housing is because of COVID. The cost, the
everything is
reason
because of
everything
COVID.
costs so much more
It's
is
because of COVID.
you shut down the entire world, right? As a guy who works in supply chain, all right, that's my job. That's what I do. Every day, I have to deal with bringing things into the country or buying things that are on the other side of the country or whatever, and I deal with this every single day. But during COVID, and my prime example has to do with stainless steel. Okay, so stainless steel. Where is stainless steel? It's everywhere. It's in everything. It's in your cars, in your houses, in everything, right? But what started out no big deal when you made everybody stay at home, and you didn't have anybody mining the ore for stainless steel. Okay, for the steel to be made from. Over time, it just became harder and harder and harder to get. And it just went up in price. I mean, every time if we bought it for this price last week, we had to get a quote on it because you know what, your quote's bad. So that was last week's price. You're paying more this week. Okay, and that just kept going and going and going and going. And we're still in that. You cannot shut down the entire world and not have
right.
Like
not without major consequences.
And of course, corporations took advantage of it. Of course, they did. They did.
They got
they'll
rich.
just keep paying more. And,
Supply and demand.
It is, and that's why I encourage everybody.
Hey, it's Miss Wolf on the shelf. It was Miss Wolf on the shelf there. I got.
I mean, yes, I encourage everybody if you have the ability, grow your own food.
Yep, that's what I'm working on. It's true. It's. Yep. Get those. That's what I'm getting. Those grow bag thingies, and I'm gonna put some potatoes and stuff in there. And next season, God willing,
potatoes. You can grow tomatoes. You can grow something. Lots of things you can grow on the patio of your apartment.
Yep, that's what I'm gonna be doing.
Yeah, some things you can grow in the house.
Yep,
that's right.
Exactly.
Yep.
Exactly.
I grow my herbs in the house now because it's winter.
I know I got to do that because I want to make some pizzas this winter.
Yeah. So I got peppermint in one spot, and I got Dylan.
Oh no! What happened? Headset battery went low. My headset battery is like
Alas, at this point, we lost Star. She froze up, her battery died, and she was the keeper of the audio. But she has not been forgotten, and she is back next week with a completely charged up battery, and we are so grateful for that. So I want to say during this part, thank you so much for joining us. We truly appreciate your time with us. It's a blessing. And please be sure to like, share, and subscribe. If you have questions about what we're doing here, comment below. I recognize this is fuzzy. I'm trying some new things out to hopefully sharpen the images. But we'll see you next time. God bless.